You're listening to Science for Soundness, the podcast. This is not your usual podcast. This is a journey, and as with any journey, I don't know yet where this one is going. If anything, I'm hoping to inspire you to take the first step, even if it's into the unknown, even if you don't know where you're going and you do it scared. Hi, I'm Steffi. I'm an equine scientist and equine therapist. I've made it my mission to support horse owners on their individual journey of horse-human connection and personal growth. I want you to know that I'm with you on this one. Think of me as a friendly voice, a reminder to stay the course, to keep going, keep listening to yourself and to your horse, even when the going gets tough. Let's do this. Hey friends! Today, I want to share with you the keynote speech that I held at the BarnNet Connect event at the beginning of 2024. This speech came from the heart. It was inspired by the journey that Bee took me on. If you have been following me for a while, I will have spoken about her before. And it really is a journey deep into connection, what connection means, what it could look like. And well, this whole event basically stood under the roof of connection. It was called BarnNet Connect. So there were many people from many different perspectives and different aspects of the equine industry. And they all came together at this event in order to talk. So I was asked whether I could close out the event by giving this keynote speech, and it was a true honor because I wasn't just able to honor Bee's legacy in this. I also was able to alchemize this into something far greater because I believe that we all have the power to make an impact, make a change in the equine industry, and I believe that knowing about connection and looking at it from a different angle helps us and enables us to show up better, be better for our horses, and learn more in order to serve them, in order to help them be sound. And by that, I mean physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna, I translated it for you. This was originally in German, so I translated it for you into English. I already uploaded the German version in case you prefer that original. But yeah, I'm going to share this with you, and I hope it moves you the way it moved me, and I hope that you will let me know at the end, maybe leave a comment, how it made you feel, what came up for you as you were listening to it. And maybe you even have an idea on what tiny things you could change today in order to make an impact in the equine world as a whole. Because I do believe that we have the power to do that. And especially if we come together at the same round table as we did at this event. So without further ado, here we go. The title of the keynote is Connection over Compliance, Ideas for a New Understanding. So here we go. Connection over compliance, ideas for a new understanding. Hi, I can't even tell you how thrilled I am to be here with you today. Honestly, while searching for the right words for today's keynote, 1,000 thoughts came to mind. An event like this, with the intent so prominently emphasized here, is not only necessary, but it's long overdue. The idea behind this event is great, and we, the equine industry, and our horses need it so much. To connect, that means to bond, and that's why we're here. But what does it even mean, connection? Is it the contact through the reins, or perhaps the rider's seat? Is it a conversation amongst professionals? The goal of building something together? Maybe something entirely different? One word, so many different meanings. Take a moment to listen to yourselves and also feel, what does connection mean to you? A connection is essential when working with horses, and in the next 30 minutes or so, I want to take you on a journey because our understanding of connection significantly influences how we see the world, how we act in it, and how deeply we can connect at all. When I was 4 years old, I saw Haflinger horses in the mountains for the first time. I was fascinated. That incredible freedom, that vastness, these huge yet so gentle beings. Even back then, I was drawn to horses, wanting to connect with them, to touch them, and to be near them. Until one of them stepped on my foot, and since neither of my parents spoke horse language, it took a while before the gentle soul moved. Safe to say, that feeling left a mark, literally. When I was 11 years old, I was finally able to ride regularly. I started at a pony farm, something like, "Here's your pony, go have fun," often accompanied by a crop and the words, "She's really moody. If she stops, you have to use the crop. She's a typical mare. Hit her if she tests you." I learned that you listen to adults, so I obediently took my pony and the crop, even though I didn't fully understand what that actually meant. The following years, I mostly hacked through the countryside, relying more on my gut feeling than on the words of the people around me, and generally just learned a lot from horses. I learned, for example, that not all horses take into account both my body and their own whilst weaving through the trees, or that I don't necessarily need a saddle or bridle to communicate with my horse. Even back then, I wanted to understand what made this magic happen. When I was 14, a very special horse entered my life, Larry, a beautifully trained gelding with whom I, as a part-lease rider, could fulfill all of my dreams, performing advanced dressage movements to riding without equipment, biking alongside him. Larry simply did everything and offered me every imaginable gift with an open heart. Back then, I thought that must be connection. That tingling sensation in the stomach, that harmony between us, and yes, maybe a bit of magic because I couldn't always explain it. Is that what connection is all about? At the age of 20, I began studying equine science in Cambridge, UK. I wanted to support the feeling I had deep inside with that knowledge. I sought evidence. During my studies, I learned a lot, especially how to think critically, question things, and to analyze. I also trained as an equine sports and rehabilitation massage therapist and immediately pursued a master's degree in equine science. I wanted more knowledge. I wanted to become better for my horses. During this time, I began to understand what the equine industry often entails. Making horses fit so they, once again, function. Subduing horses so they operate within a system that offers little to no space for them. The system I couldn't understand as a child suddenly revealed its much larger scale. I experienced this firsthand in 2014 when I brought my mare's son to England. The living conditions didn't match what she was accustomed to or what she needed. Horses need contact with other horses, freedom of movement, access to plenty of roughage, and a herd. If we separate 3 horses into 3 individual paddocks, we take away what they need the most: social bonds, connection. The stable owners didn't see things the way I did and weren't willing to change. Son became downright depressed, and so I decided to take her care into my own hands. I quickly created a paddock paradise. All that was missing was a companion for her. I found Bee, a then malnourished Exmoor pony mare who had been surrendered due to her severely aggressive behavior. Bee had been sold 7 times in her 7 years of life. Something in me said that these two would become the best of friends, so Bee joined Son. With the knowledge from my studies and all the years of experience, I thought I was well prepared for this next chapter. Well, so I thought. Bee and Sun became instant best friends, fulfilling my greatest wish, and I was happy about that. What I hadn't considered, though, was how much the system had impacted and broken Bee. She had learned that humans are violent, so every approach I made was met with her fleeing. She had learned that saddle and bridle mean pain, so she bolted at the mere sight of Sun's equipment. Bee had learned that being near humans offered nothing enjoyable, nothing restful or nourishing. In short, I spent 6 months showing her that she could trust me. And no lesson in the world helped me because they all had one thing in common. They all aimed to make my horse compliant. And if there's one thing that I have learned, it's that we don't heal wounds by adding more of that same pain. Bee was labeled crazy, dangerous, and aggressive by so many people, and I was asked if I wouldn't prefer to give her away. But she had simply never been given an honest chance before. From the very beginning, she had learned to stay in a constant state of alert to stay safe. Her nervous system was in overdrive. All the training Bee went through in her short life served only one purpose: to make her compliant no matter the cost. And there I was, searching for a connection. I absolutely didn't want to feed into that system by treating her the way she expected to be treated. I wanted real connection. And for that, Bee first had to trust me. I spent countless hours at my pasture, observing Sun and Bee, keeping myself in the background and trying to reduce my interactions with Bee to a minimum. I tried to listen instead of whispering. I didn't want to change or fix her. I didn't want to correct her. I wanted to understand. I didn't want to fight symptoms or conceal them. I wanted to learn, and this time from Bee. You see, to understand my pony's needs, I first had to learn about what she individually required, who she actually was. I had to learn to read her and understand her in order to respond to those needs. After about 6 months, Bee was able to trust me enough to feel safe in my presence. And for anyone wondering what that looked like, she didn't fall into a survival response, meaning no fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Her teeth, hooves, and everything else stayed with her. Bee didn't experience stress in my presence anymore, and she didn't need to run away. I could halter her calmly, we could build a foundation, and slowly start taking walks because that's what she loved the most, being outside in nature. And all of this happened without me having to make her compliant. In my work today, I often notice that owners are unable to properly read their horses. Survival responses such as fight, meaning biting, bucking, rearing, or kicking; flight, bolting or running away; freeze, literal freezing at the sight of a frightening stimulus; or fawn, appeasing, which I find one of the most intriguing survival responses. Horses express stress by chewing, licking, yawning, or blinking excessively, or lowering their head to signal appeasement. The latter is often misunderstood and sold in the industry as a sign of relaxation, and you see, there is a clear discrepancy here. In general, these survival responses occur much more often than most people realize. And by misinterpreting or failing to notice these behaviors, we miss countless opportunities to strengthen a connection. But let's get back to Bee. To choose Bee, I had to reject much of what I had learned. Reject compliance in favor of identifying courses, taking a needs-based approach, and ultimately establishing an honest connection. And to be honest, it wasn't always easy. After all, I was now in the middle of a master's program in equine science. I was supposed to know better, but something was still off. Pro-horse isn't always truly pro-horse. even there, symptoms were treated and suppressed instead of taking an honest look at the horse. And then it hit me. Who or what can I even trust on this search for connection? And the answer was my horses. On this journey to connect with my horses, I discovered a factor that I hadn't considered at all: myself. It became increasingly clear that something very specific was needed to perceive my horse's needs in the first place. And that was quite simply to first perceive my own needs. And I say simply now, but oh boy, is that hard. Do you remember when I said I didn't understand back then why I had to assert myself if a horse was being moody, but I didn't question what the adults told me? Today, I know that I can look more closely and see what's happening by looking at my horse's face, especially their eyes. Today, I can distinguish between different states and understand where to offer support or release pressure in any form to honor my horse's needs accordingly. Today, I know that asserting myself does nothing but create more stress and fear in my horse. Compliance, essentially. But that's exactly the point. Not only are horses systematically made compliant in our system, but we humans are also systematically discouraged from having needs, let alone expressing them. Bold statements with Steffi, I know. But let's reflect on this for a moment. And I invite you to think about it individually for yourself. Think back to when you were small. In kindergarten and later in school, we had to announce or even ask permission for basic needs like going to the toilet or getting a drink. Often, water on the table wasn't even allowed, let alone leaving the room. I remember frequently sitting in class tired or with low blood sugar because the schedule just didn't align with my natural rhythm at all. And by the way, a low blood sugar and high cortisol level in the blood are the perfect mix for concentration and retaining information. Not? But maybe you've experienced something similar. Now let's think about the horses again. If we're being honest, we do nothing different by locking horses in stables, by riding them in ways that cause physical and mental damage, by not allowing them to form genuine bonds with humans or feel safe with them, by failing to read or understand them and sending far too many mixed signals, or, as in Sun's case, by not allowing direct contact and thus no connection with other horses, or as with B, by punishing a horse for not cooperating even though they were never given a fair chance as an individual, by overwhelming them with situations and stress, including the accompanying hormones, to the point where they have no choice but to become physically loud. And suddenly, everyone, human and horse, is in fight mode, fighting against each other. And that is definitely not how connection happens. And all because no one steps up and asks one simple question. What do you need right now? The journey B sent me on was greater and more meaningful than anything I could have imagined. To feel connection means, first and foremost, to allow it. And yes, that sometimes hurts, more often than we'd like. During our time together, B underwent a true transformation. She grew from a stressed, defensive pony with constant resistance into a rideable, child-safe, happy, hacking pony, always with a sparkle in her eye. But this time, the sparkle was the way it was meant to be. B has flourished and became autonomous. She felt safe to express herself. And I mean the whole spectrum. And that was the greatest and most beautiful gift to me. Allowing connection also means accepting a no matter what, without consequences. Because what is the value of a yes from my horse if I don't accept a no? Allowing connection also means taking breaks when they're needed. standing up for my counterpart and myself, even when it might get difficult. Just like here, at this round table, where different opinions come together. I cannot have a connection with my horse if there is no room for their opinion and needs. Which brings me to my next and very important point. Connection begins within me, with me. This means it is only possible with my environment, whether horse or human or nature, when it starts with myself. Just as I can ask my horse what it is they need at the moment, I should also ask myself this question more regularly. Instead of waiting for permission, as we were taught in school, we should do it today. Instead of waiting until we feel unwell, until our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health suffer, we should tune in today. We should ask ourselves far more often, what do I need right now? And then listen to that quiet whisper without ridiculing ourselves or fearing negative consequences. To find out if I am connected with myself, I can ask myself a few questions. You can all take a moment to sense how present you are in the here and now. How well can you handle silence, physically and mentally? Are your thoughts already racing to the next to-do list? Or are you taking in every single word you hear? Do you even feel your body? Where are you in this room? Take a look around. Look your neighbor in the face, in their eyes. What do you feel there? Maybe there's some tension in your body that you try to ignore. Jaw, neck, back, shoulders, those are common favorites. Are you breathing more shallow or more deeply? Are you breathing into your belly or into your chest? Try to sense inward. What is your body telling you about your current state? Thank you for participating. Why am I asking all of this? Horses are always present in the here and now. The primary goal of every interaction is safety. How safe am I as a counterpart in this relationship when I come stressed from work to their barn to quickly check off a few lessons with them? Really? How much time and space remains in such moments to truly listen to my horse and listen to their needs? Can I even perceive them in such a state? I want to give you a very simple but universal truth to take with you. Every interaction does one of the two things. It either strengthens connection or weakens it. So you can ask yourself, what does interaction look like when I am not connected with myself? How much space can I give today? How much space do I need myself today? How well can I respond to my horse's needs? How much do I make my horse compliant in training or interaction instead of strengthening our connection? Our system needs to change. That much we agree on. The question isn't just what's going wrong. Well, okay, that also, quite a lot, but that question alone doesn't lead us anywhere. The question should be, how can we make the system better and create more room for genuine connection within it? What no longer serves us or our horses? I have a dream. These aren't just the famous words of Martin Luther King, but also a sentence that deeply resonates with me. Because I dream of a world where stories like those of Sun, Bee, and me are no longer unusual, but become a new standard. A standard where true connection stands above obedience and compliance. For one simple reason. Horses that experience a needs-oriented approach embody animal welfare better. Horses whose individual needs are considered look more beautiful because they can feel themselves and express themselves. They feel safe. They practically shine from within. They are physically healthier, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally more balanced. Horses that are sound and feel safe in their interactions with us humans can also perform better. But all of this begins within me. Connection starts with me. Only then can I connect with my horse. And if we're honest, only then can we truly connect with each other and engage on equal footing. We, here, today. That also begins within us. We in the equine industry are at a crossroads, and we all have the opportunity to decide anew where we want to go. Continue as before, look away, often ignoring and overlooking animal welfare, taking no stance, or how about we try something new, something different? As an industry, we can move mountains, but for that, we need to decide in which direction we want to go from now on, which behaviors and methods need to disappear forever, which aspects we want to put at the forefront, and also how we want to connect with each other to truly achieve something. Even if we all come from different perspectives, we can still learn from each other and support each other. And most importantly, we can accomplish incredible things if we connect, look in the same direction together, and then finally start walking. On December 31st, 2022, my journey with Bee was abruptly ended by a severe colic. Even then, I was able to ask, "What do you need? What can I do for you?" Whilst the vet was still asking me about taking her to a clinic, it took one look into Bee's eyes to know that my ego had no place here. The only thing I could do was to hold space for her one last time, to let Bee go with dignity. You see, Bee made me realize something fundamentally important. Our horses don't belong to us. We have no claim over them. They owe us nothing. They are not here to fulfill or entertain us. They do not have to perform to be loved. Bee always belonged to herself, right until the very end. Bee was a great teacher. She was playful, self-determined, charming. She had a huge heart. She showed me what it means to fully perceive and love the one in front of me with all the highs and lows. What it means to be fearless. What it means to be mirrored. What it means to truly feel connected with myself and with the one in front of me. What it means to grow. Bee made me realize what a gift it is to spend time with a being like her, especially when that time is filled with understanding and trust. I'll never forget Bee. Because of her, I stand here today with you. Perhaps you have also had such a special horse in your life. Maybe they're still by your side. Perhaps you can or want to take a small moment and recall all of these moments for which you are grateful to that wonderful soul, without whom you might not be where you are now, today, here. For Bee and me, it was a journey deep into the heart. For us here today, it is a journey into a new direction. My personal journey must continue without Bee, but she gave me something to carry forward, something I would like to share with you all. Change is the only constant. Maybe it's not immediately visible at first glance. Maybe it's not yet worth it externally. Maybe it feels unfamiliar and unknown, making it feel incredibly uncomfortable for us. Maybe it even scares us. Good. Change is scary and uncomfortable at first until it becomes the new normal, and that's exactly where we need to go. Let's create a new understanding of connection to bring about sustainable and, above all, horse worthy change in our industry. Because one thing is certain, it is worth fighting for the things we deeply feel in our hearts are true. Thank you. Hi friend, I hope you found something in this episode that resonated with you. I am beyond grateful that you hung out with me today for a little while, and I do hope that you come along for the ride. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and if you feel like it, leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or would like me to talk about a certain topic, check the show notes for ways to get in touch. I can't wait for next time. You got this.